Before we get started, I just want to remind the listeners that if you're in crisis or if someone you know is, please call the PEI Helpline at 1-800-218-2885 or consider calling the Canadian Mental Health Association Peer Support Line at 902-628-3666. So today on the podcast, I have a special guest for episode 3. His name is Ikechukwu Daniel Ohaegbu, and he is a psychology student at UPEI, and he's from Nigeria, West Africa. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So I first met you at an event that was on UPEI's campus and was hosted collaboratively by Jack.org, one of my partner organizations for this podcast, Rising Youth, namely Sarah Galland, a young engagement activator at Taking It Global, who I interviewed on episode 2 of the podcast, and YMCA Community Action Network, or YCAN. This event was a brainstorming session for how people can take action on issues surrounding mental health and wellness. And I think that was a really interesting and productive event. What I'm curious about is what brings you out to these types of mental health events?
Personally, for me, what brought me out to that event was the connections with the youth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I come from a place where like mental health is not like highly recognized. We are highly religious, so we don't really recognize mental health. It's not something we talk about back home. It's not something that we think exists.
Yeah.
Well, for some people, while for others. So even though you're going through something, it's not considered mental health. It's
Mm-hmm.
considered just, it's life. It's part of life
Mm-hmm.
that goes on. Just deal with it and move on, right?
Yeah.
So, so coming from that perspective and coming to a society where like mental health is actively spoken about, we're always actively looking for support, looking for resources and everything. And for me, it was not just that, but it was just the connection with the youth, seeing the youth, seeing young individuals and young adults just gather and looking for ways to provide a support system and to provide a community for their fellow friends or individuals, or just for the community in total. I think that for me drew me out to that event, and for me it's like I would like to see and would want to see more of that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And coming from a society where mental health is not really spoken about to a society where it's actively spoken about, and also studying psychology, right? Like I have seen I would say the twist in fate, and me my own self, like I've gone through my own fair share of I don't know what to call it per se, but like I know I've experienced my own difficulties and challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that in my own position I had I had friends to fall back to. I'm Christian, so I pray a lot, and I had God to fall back to as well. I had my family to fall back to, but I find that people don't talk a lot. Most people don't talk because they feel it's shameful to talk about it, or it's not really, and some people don't even know what to talk about in essence. So I think for me it's just coming out and just talking, just like seeing other people talk about stuff, seeing other people try to provide a support system, try to provide solidarity, try to provide a community. I think that's kind of what got me out.
That's great, like connection with others especially, and supporting each other.
Yeah.
So we met at this event, but we realized that we had actually taken a class together back in 2015,
Mm-hmm.
social psychology at UPEI.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about your education background at UPEI and your honors project?
Well, like my education background at UPI was kind of rocky at first.
Mm-hmm.
So I started off wanting to do biology, right? I always wanted to do biology because for me it was all about saving lives.
Yeah.
And I was narrow-minded in the sense where like I didn't really think about like other programs or courses. It was just about bio. I was decent. I would say I was decent at bio. I'm not like like a genius or something, but So in essence, my first year was a bit rough, and I didn't do so well. So I failed my first bio course and my chemistry course. Then that summer following up, I took a psych course. I took Psych 101, and boom, I don't know, I just loved it.
Yeah.
And then it just, because it spoke to me. It was like everything I do, or everything, it was just about myself, my environment, my friends, like what affects me, and what I give to my environment, and what my environment gives back to me. So I just loved it, and I had that connection with psych. And then right from that summer, I just stayed with psych and just continued. And I went back to do bio again, and I passed bio the second time I took it.
Oh, nice.
And then I did a second year. So I was gonna go for a minor in bio and then a major in psych.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's kind of like how my academic journey at UPI started. And yeah, with my honors project, currently I'm looking at how African men at UPI, how Black African men at UPI thrive despite racialization. So basically looking at it from a liberation standpoint, where we're not focusing on the systems of oppression, but focusing on the systems of liberation, using liberation psychology theories and all, and using the guide of liberation psychology theories, I'd say, to create a system of empowerment and a system of solidarity, to not only tell the stories of the Black African men who were in my research, but also to provide a voice, I guess, to say that yes, racism exists, but like, how do we move past that, right? So in essence, it's like, for me, I just don't want to dwell in the existence of racism, because that's only going to empower the oppressor. I want to look for a way, but I want to speak on behalf of not just Black African men, other international students. I want to speak on behalf of the minority groups on campus, and basically encourage and challenge everyone to, I think, like, feel empowered enough to speak up, stand up for themselves, and also to create a community around
Yeah.
it. Like, I'm not pointing fingers, and I'm not trying to fight anyone or trying to be political or anything, although some may see it as a political thesis, right? But in essence, it's like looking for a way to create a community, looking for a way to create solidarity on campus, and not just in UPI, but across Canada, I hope.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking before the podcast started about my intentions for this podcast.
Yeah.
And we were both kind of sharing how we want to, I don't know if celebrate is the right word, but like not look at what's lacking in services or in community, but to think about like what there is that's good, and to build upon that. So I just wanted to throw that in there, because I think we were having a good conversation there.
To add to that, I think that's kind of how we move forward. Right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, it exists. Yes, people are going through it. Yes, there may be support systems that may not be as efficient as we want it to be. But then how can we basically create, I think, like a system of empowerment, and also a system of hope for people to say, I'm not alone in this. Like, I have other people going through this. I have other people experiencing this. I have family, I have friends, or I know people talking about it, right? Like, I know I can listen to your podcast when I'm feeling lonely, or I know I can reach out to X amount of people, or this person or that person. So it's just, I think it's a light of hope. I think that's what and just to see that it's happening.
Yeah.
I think it's more than enough, I guess.
Yeah. So from what I've seen, I guess on social media, and like knowing you in the short time that I have, I can tell that you're passionate about community involvement, and talking to you just now, and that you're a caring person. And I want to know if you can share your thoughts on community involvement, and like why you think it's beneficial.
Yeah, I think, like, for me, it's okay. So coming from Nigeria, where apparently it's a third world country, where we are most of the time, or all the time, fed through the media, or in the media, we are fed like positive and beautiful stuffs about the Western society. So we think like nothing bad ever happens, or like everyone in the Western society is, you know, like just living just as it is in the movies. So I really anticipated just before, I guess like going back, it was like I was